A new biopic centered on the life and passing of the legendary king of pop, Michael Jackson, will be beginning its principal photography this year. The film, titled simply Michael, is making headlines for all kinds of reasons. While most people know who Michael Jackson is, today on Where Are They Now, we will be going over the film, what it could cover, and some recent additions to the story of Michael Jackson. I'm Adam Andrews, let's jump in. Now, according to Wikipedia and pretty much the world, Michael Jackson is one of the best-selling music artists of all time, with estimated sales over 400 million records worldwide. He had 13 Billboard Hot 100 #1 singles, more than any other male artist in the Hot 100 era, and was the first artist to have a top 10 single in the Billboard Hot 100 in 5 different decades. He is regarded by the RIAA as the highest-selling individual music artist of all time worldwide. His honors include 15 Grammy Awards, 6 Brit Awards, a Golden Globe Award, and 39 Guinness World Records, including the most successful entertainer of all time. Jackson has been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, the Vocal Group Hall of Fame, the Songwriters Hall of Fame, the Dance Hall of Fame, being the only recording artist to do so, and the Rhythm and Blues Music Hall of Fame. A biopic about the artist was bound to come around eventually, and it's almost more surprising that it hasn't happened before now, but that is largely due to the incredibly controversial nature of Michael's life. According to The Hollywood Reporter, although the exact plot hasn't been confirmed yet, it's expected that Michael will cover everything from Jackson's child stardom in the Jackson 5 to his impactful musical career as an adult, the pop star's tragic 2009 passing, but will also, quote, fairly address the accusations he faced later in life. Now, it's hard to say exactly how the film will touch on those controversies, and it is also entirely possible that the movie will paint over those controversies in a favorable light for Jackson himself. We know this because while the film will be co-produced by Graham King, the Oscar-winning British producer of Martin Scorsese's The Departed, and who most recently worked on the Freddie Mercury biopic Bohemian Rhapsody, Michael will also be co-produced by John Branca and John McClane, both of whom were involved in Jackson's life in different capacities and are the co-executors of Jackson's estate, which has stood against the accusations made against the King of Pop. Branca, an entertainment lawyer, was part of Jackson's management team and instrumental in producing the Thriller short film, and McClane is a music executive who's been associated with acts like Jackson, Lionel Richie, and Janet Jackson. It's also worth noting that Bohemian Rhapsody, which was also co-produced by both Graham King and band members of Queen, caught some flack for also altering history to paint those members of the band in a more favorable light. Now, these kinds of things happen in biopics. Sometimes, and more often, it's to save skin of those involved or to protect the legacy of someone that those involved cared about. Sometimes, it's in order to make a better film story. But if this happens with Michael, not only would it feel incredibly insensitive and make a statement about the seriousness of what happened, but could have pretty heavy repercussions for and from the victims of Jackson's actions and their supporters. Not to mention that it would, as Dan Reed, director of the groundbreaking 2-part 4-hour Leaving Neverland documentary pointed out, glorify a man who had committed some incredibly serious crimes. Leaving Neverland focused on Wade Robson and James Safechuck, two former child performers who described, in often excruciating detail, the way Jackson took advantage of them and mistreated them at a young age. That is the only way I can describe what happened without being flagged by YouTube. If you know what I'm referring to, then it's all you need to hear, and if you don't, you can watch Leaving Neverland, but just be prepared because it is quite harrowing. Now, Jackson has denied all the allegations raised against him. He settled a lawsuit in civil court connected to one such case in 1993, and in 2003 he was investigated by the FBI, tried, and found not guilty in 2005. But after Jackson passed away in 2009 at 50 from cardiac arrest caused by prescriptions, the claims continued and clouded his music legacy. The Michael Jackson biopic is set to be directed by the acclaimed Antoine Fuqua, who is most known for his work on Emancipation with Will Smith, the Equalizer franchise starring Denzel Washington, and the critically acclaimed Training Day. The film's script will be penned by the Oscar-nominated John Logan, who famously worked on Gladiator and the James Bond films Skyfall and Spectre. And then, almost adding to the film being backed by his estate and family, Michael Jackson himself is set to be played by his own nephew, Jafar Jackson, the second youngest son to songwriter, producer, and Jackson 5 member Jermaine Jackson. Michael's mother spoke on the casting of Jafar, saying, quote, "Jafar embodies my son. It's so wonderful to see him carry on the Jackson legacy of entertainers and performance, which, not to be negative, does not give faith that the film will properly cover the damaging controversy surrounding Michael Jackson." The producer, Graham King, said on the casting, quote, I met Jafar over 2 years ago and was blown away by the way he organically personifies the spirit and personality of Michael. It was something so powerful that even after conducting a worldwide search, it was clear that he is the only person to take on this role. I am beyond thrilled that he has come on board to portray his uncle and cannot wait for the world to see him on the big screen as Michael Jackson. The thing is, Michael Jackson's life was incredibly and undoubtedly impressive, complex, and full of ups and downs. Born in Indiana in 1958, Jackson came to fame alongside his brothers as the youngest member of the Jackson 5, which itself is steeped in controversy. The group of brothers were famously managed by their father, Joe Jackson, who was more infamously known as an incredibly monstrous father. Being a failed musician himself, he pushed his sons with extreme methods and a lack of love, primarily focusing much of his psychological torment on Michael specifically, who was the youngest and most talented of the 5 brothers. There is also the fact that he and his brothers would perform at strip clubs, performing their act in between female strippers, which, as you can imagine, is an interesting introduction into that part of life and the world. Now, MJ began his solo career in 1971 with Motown Records and really became a star in 1979 with his album Off the Wall. In 1982, possibly his greatest album ever, Thriller, came out, eventually becoming the best-selling album of all time, and alongside it, music videos for Beat It, Billie Jean, and Thriller are said to have broken racial barriers and turned music videos themselves into an art form and promotional tool. He was a key figure in the rise and success of MTV. His 1987 album Bad was the first album to produce 5 US Billboard Hot 100 #1 singles. Now, between the 70s and early thousands, Michael Jackson became one of the most enduring and massive pop icons of all time, with a more than 40-year career. But over those 40 years, there were tons of shocking, exciting, strange, and interesting things that happened. The massive Super Bowl halftime show, multiple plastic surgeries, being diagnosed with a skin disorder vitiligo, which I'm sorry if I mispronounced, but results in white patches on the skin and sensitivity to sunlight, the allegations of skin bleaching, and a rivalry between Michael and fellow musician Prince. I mean, there is also Michael Jackson's incredibly unique behavior from the stage to his day-to-day personality. What has always been an interesting topic surrounding Michael Jackson has been his relationships. For starters, as you can imagine, there have been many of them. The late Lisa Marie Presley, the daughter of Elvis, was his first wife. The two met in 1974 and reconnected in 1992, becoming involved with each other shortly afterwards. She was present for his first set of allegations in 1993, and she supported him during the time that he began to be dependent on pain medications, even convincing MJ to enter into rehab. The two got married on May 26, 1994, but it wasn't an entirely successful marriage, ending in August of 1996, but curiously, the two continued to see each other for about 4 more years after that, on and off. It's curious because in November of 1996, Jackson married Debbie Rowe, the assistant of his dermatologist. From this marriage, Jackson had 2 of his 3 children, his son Michael Joseph Prince Jackson Jr., who was born February 13th, 1997, and his daughter Paris Michael Catherine Jackson, who was born April 3rd, 1998. Unfortunately, the two split in April of 2000, with Jackson taking full custody of the kids. His last child, Prince Michael Jackson, was born from a surrogate mother on February 21st, 2002. In September 2009, author Shmuley Bodiak released a book titled The Michael Jackson Tapes, based on the taped conversations he had with Jackson in 2001, which focused partially on Jackson's thoughts on relationships. When he was asked if he got jealous when his longtime friend Elizabeth Taylor dated other men, Jackson replied, quote, "Yes and no. I know that if we ever did anything romantically, the press would be so mean and nasty and call us the odd couple. It would turn into a circus, and that's the pain of it all." It is speculated that Jackson might have dated 9 women throughout his career, apart from Lisa Marie Presley and Debbie Rowe, including former model Tatiana Thumpson and the actress Elizabeth Taylor. Now, more recently, some strange things have happened with Jackson outside of his biopic that is being made, specifically with his music. This month, around 50 gigs of unreleased Michael Jackson songs and videos were stolen and leaked from recording engineer Brad Sundberg's laptop, and it included a large amount of unreleased material from the later 80s and early 90s, around the time of MJ's Bad and Dangerous eras. Sundberg played the unreleased songs and videos for fans who attended his In the Studio with MJ seminar in Brussels. Now, during a break in this seminar, apparently Sundberg's laptop was stolen by a, quote, lone wolf who apparently jumped out of a window and onto the roof to escape. escape, like a whole full-on heist. In a video shared on social media, Brad said, quote, "We do know who the thief is, and we are working with the police, and we're doing all we can to bring this to some sort of a resolution." While there have been Michael Jackson songs leaked before, the way this one happened made it way more shocking. A music-centered Twitter account called The Leak called it, quote, "one of the wildest music leaks in years." Also, in July of 2022, 3 of Michael Jackson's songs that were released in a posthumous compilation album in 2010 have been removed from streaming services after claims that they had, quote, "faked vocals." Monster, Keep Your Head Up, and Breaking News have been at the center of a court case from fans who say that the vocals are from a session singer and not Michael himself. In response to this, Sony Music and MJ's estate decided to remove the songs from streaming services as the, quote, "simplest and best way to move beyond the conversations associated with these tracks once and for all," which is actually kind of a mature move. I kind of like that. Despite his controversies, Michael Jackson was an enormously successful, multi-dimensional musician that broke boundaries and changed the face of music, performance, pop culture, fashion, and dance. He will forever be an integral part of art history, and we shall see what comes of his upcoming movie, Michael, which is beginning filming this year. I'm Adam Andrews, you've been watching Where Are They Now, and I'll catch you all on the flippy flop. Stay safe and well informed out there. See you.